Welcome back to my channel Unusual Porra. Glad to see you once again. Also, if you are new, welcome regardless, glad that you decided to pop in. So today I will be starting part 1 of many for my StarCraft series. I could start with the Terrans as they were the first race that we could play within the original StarCraft game. But honestly, I think starting with the race that began everything that I would like to call the Kaprulu sector shitshow would be the best. So allow me to introduce the Xel'Naga. Xel'Naga origins. Originating from the void, the Xel'Naga were incredibly long-lived even by Protoss standards, but not immortal. Eventually their species would come to an end. In the interest of survival, they planned to create new Xel'Naga by uplifting 2 species. A pair of qualities was required, and these were defined by the Xel'Naga as purity of essence and purity of form, and each uplifted species would be targeted for one of them. Over an extraordinarily long period of time, the 2 species would naturally come together and merge, forming the next generation of Xel'Naga and beginning the cycle anew. The cycle was repeated in numerous universes. At the start of a universe's creation, the Xel'Naga would take on physical form and enter the universe, seeding it with life. The cycle repeated so many times that time itself was affected by it. However, some among the Xel'Naga resented being uplifted into their godlike forms, and saw the infinite cycle of the Xel'Naga's reproduction as horrid, relying on the conflict of others for the benefit of the Xel'Naga. Under a powerful Xel'Naga named Amorn, this rogue group of Xel'Naga sought to undo the Xel'Naga's work, purge the universe of their creation, and make a new perfect universe without the strife of the cycle. Xel'Naga's arrival in the Milky Way. Using Kadarin crystals, the Xel'Naga carefully and indirectly steered the delicate evolutionary processes of their budding species for millennia, keeping a detailed genetic history of each race. Their protracted experiments produced many intriguing deviants and mutations, but the races that they cultivated always fell short of their enormous expectations. During their journeys, they learned of the voice in the darkness, a void-based entity which consumed entire civilizations. The Xel'Naga, who cherished life, imprisoned it with an Argus crystal beneath a barren world at KL2. The Xel'Naga found or created a powerful relic, the Argus stone, which they valued over other artifacts, but left it on the world of Aridas. The Zerg believe it had been used to create entire races. The Firstborn. The Xel'Naga slumbered within the Chamber of Ascension as the universe grew, waiting for the 2 destined races to assemble the keystone and find their way to Ulna. Seeing their opportunity, Amorn and his followers left Ulna and sought to personally uplift the evolution of 2 species to gain the Xel'Naga's purities. They focused their efforts on the jungle world of Aiea, one of the Xel'Naga's engineered worlds. Pleased with the progress of its most advanced native life forms, the renegade Xel'Naga conceded that their latest creation was their first of all their experiments to evolve beyond the feral constraints of baser life forms. They gave the new race the name of Protoss, or the Firstborn. Unsatisfied with the slow progress of the Protoss, Amorn and his allies accelerated their evolution and spent a millennium subtly guiding their steps. They used devices such as the Cassia crystal to enhance their rate of reproduction. Eventually, Amorn's Xel'Naga succeeded in leading the Protoss to the state of total sentience and awareness. When the Protoss became highly intellectual and introspective, Amorn and his followers were exhilarated by their seeming success. Attempting to discern the full extent of Protoss evolution, they made themselves known to the Protoss and integrated into their culture. Amorn's Xel'Naga constructed a temple to mark the site where they first set foot upon Aiea. They also dug vast subterranean caverns, vast cities where they experimented on the Protoss. The Protoss were united by their fascination with these new gods. They called their new benefactors the Ihan-Ri, the Great Teachers, the Makers, and the Guardians. Amorn's Xel'Naga marveled at how driven the Protoss were to plumb the mysteries of the universe around them. However, they reeled in frustration when the Protoss tribes grew further and further apart. At first, Amorn's Xel'Naga were intrigued by this ideological development and conducted an experiment to see what effects the diverging tribes might have on Kadarin crystals. They created twin crystals, the Kollis and Uraj, from a monolithic crystal and gifted them to the Sargas and Akali tribe respectively. The crystals' powers and appearance diverged with their tribes. The departure. Amorn's Xel'Naga speculated that perhaps they had pushed Protoss evolution too far. As individual egos arose to overpower the once primary communal link, many of Amorn's followers believed that the Protoss had lost their greatest strengths. With the loss of the primal psychic link, which the Xel'Naga considered the most fundamental element of their greatness, they deemed that the purity of form they sought to create had been sullied by a conflict of essence and thus decreed that the Protoss were a failed creation as a result of their sentience being pushed too quickly. Amorn's Xel'Naga were already done with the Protoss, and needed to work on a new species. Hundreds of Amorn's Xel'Naga were killed in a Protoss attack when they tried to leave, but they were fended off long enough for the greater number of their world ships to be launched. They left behind catering crystals and at least one ship. Broken cycle. Amorn and his followers traveled to Xerus, where they dismissed their tenets of physical form and focused chiefly on the pursuit of a distinct purity of essence. They labored to advance the evolution of the Zerg, which was the most insignificant life form on Xerus until their protogenetic manipulations enabled the Zerg to survive the torrential firestorms and thrive. The Zerg ultimately developed the ability to assimilate other races into themselves, and Amorn knew that they had achieved their goal when the Zerg became conditioned to survive the harshness of space. However, the Xel'Naga were alarmed to discover that the original races assimilated by the Zerg were almost unrecognizable after only a few generations of their inception. Amorn desired their ability to steal essence, but the Zerg were independent. Remembering their failure with the Protoss, Amorn's Xel'Naga attempted to waylay the potential hazards of differing egos by structuring the collective sentience of the Zerg into a unified, amalgamated hive mind, creating a separate entity called the Overmind to control the swarm. They kept a constant watch on the Overmind via a psychic link. Feeling an absence within the void itself as the Protoss created the Kala, the other Xel'Naga were disturbed from their slumber. Discovering Amorn and his followers at Xerus, a war erupted among the Xel'Naga. In response, Amorn unleashed the Zerg. The Xel'Naga attempted to stem the tide of the ever-advancing onslaught, but the reinforced hulls of their world ships were battered by wave after wave of Zerg swarms with no signs of abatement. The Xel'Naga defenses were overrun within a few hours and the greater whole of the Xel'Naga race was consumed, an action which threw the Xel'Naga plan into turmoil. A fraction of the Xel'Naga remained within Ulna, however, and Amorn himself was felled in the final confrontation. He was thrust back into the void and twisted it with his hatred, though the Zerg continued to feel his influence. One of his surviving servants thereafter sought a body to sustain Amorn. The Overmind assimilated some of the Xel'Naga's knowledge as it processed thousands of Xel'Naga into itself, and decided that the Protoss would become the Zerg's ultimate target. Xel'Naga biology. Xel'Naga biology varied based on the creature. Many, such as Horus, Amorn, and those depicted in the Xel'Naga temples showed a large squid-like creature with a bulbous body. Others such as Narud were large hunched creatures, similar to void thrashers. Sarah Kerrigan's Xel'Naga form was that of a flaming human with large wings. The Xel'Naga, and creatures that contain Xel'Naga essence, are able to passively facilitate the rapid growth of life around them, and cause extreme growths of flora and fauna even in dead worlds. Their genetics contained a depth of molecular and quantum complexity not understood by the races of the Kaprulu sector. Xel'Naga culture. The Xel'Naga cherished all life and refused to kill anything, not even the entity at KL2. The Protoss eventually followed a version of this philosophy, called the Dayul. The Xel'Naga possess some form of language exclusive to their species. At least some Xel'Naga buried and/or entombed their dead. The Xel'Naga used a universal natural code the Protoss termed Ar-Ador, which means perfect ratio. Terrans call it the golden mean. Xel'Naga technology. The Xel'Naga understood that energy, essence, and information were all one, unmutable. They could convert material between these states with ease. The Xel'Naga left numerous artifacts on Aya and other worlds, such as Elna, Roxara, and Aradas. The Xel'Naga made liberal use of catering crystals and other such crystals in their technology. One such crystal, the Cassia crystal, was used to regulate Protoss fertility during their development. Some artifacts can be considered dangerous, since they can manipulate the minds of Terrans. At least some are alive in a sense, once being described as an energy fossil. These artifacts are sought by the Protoss. The Nerazim especially have made efforts to track these down. To the Protoss, much of the Xel'Naga's technology is akin to magic, and some of their shielding technology is immune to the psionic powers of the Kali. the Terran Dominion made attempts to buy some from rival powers. Even the Zerg have used spies in an effort to locate artifacts. Still more temples have appeared on worlds such as Xel'Naga, Aridas, where the powerful Argus stone was stored, and Beka Ro, the latter disgorged a strange energy creature which collected Protoss and Zerg genetics for unknown purposes. Valerian Mengsk, the heir apparent of the Terran Dominion, has expressed interest in these temples, and Dominion forces have engaged in combat in an attempt to secure such temples. Watchtowers seemingly crafted by the Xel'Naga have appeared. The Xel'Naga possess the ability to create space platforms and artificial constructs, utilizing AI or similar technology. Some pieces of Xel'Naga technology are immune to conventional weaponry. However, some Xel'Naga technology can disrupt the functions of other Xel'Naga technology, creating an opening for it to be dismantled or destroyed. Xel'Naga worlds. The following are worlds known to have been visited by the Xel'Naga, many of them possessing relics of their presence. Planet Aya, the planet has numerous Xel'Naga relics. Planet Alamar has a number of Xel'Naga temples. Planet Aridas has a Xel'Naga temple. The Argus stone was also found on this world. Planet Arctica has a Xel'Naga temple. Planet Atreus has a Xel'Naga temple. Planet Beka Ro has a Xel'Naga temple. Planet Elna, multiple Xel'Naga relics have been found on this world. Planet Helios, the Cadering crystal was also found on this world. Planet Chaldea has multiple Xel'Naga shrines. Planet KL2 has the Xel'Naga crafted prison which houses the voice in the darkness. Planet Lerilac Crest has multiple Xel'Naga ruins. Planet Marsara, a Xel'Naga artifact, was discovered on this world. Planet Monolith, a Xel'Naga artifact and a Xel'Naga temple was discovered on this world. Planet Nemeka has a Xel'Naga temple. Planet Pegasus has a Xel'Naga temple. Planet Roxara, a Xel'Naga artifact, was discovered on this world. Planet Shakuras, the planet has numerous Xel'Naga relics. Planet Typhon 11, a Xel'Naga artifact, was discovered on this world. Planet Ulan, the planet has numerous Xel'Naga relics. Planet Sil has a Xel'Naga temple. Planet Xerus, the Xel'Naga visited this world where they discovered the small insectoids which would eventually become the Zerg. And so concludes my video on the Xel'Naga. Thank you very much for joining me on the first step of my multi-part deep dive into the StarCraft universe. It certainly took quite a while making this video. It's not as easy as it would seem, haha. In my next video for my StarCraft video series, we shall discuss the Protoss, the firstborn of the godlike Xel'Naga. If you like this video of mine, please hit the like button, and if I may be so bold, maybe share this video as well, as it will appease the algo god of YouTube. Hope to see you next time. Unusual Porra signing off.